Hi everybody, welcome to Comics Tuesday. And today's episode is for adults only. So if you're a young child, make sure you grab a comic book reading adult. So today's episode is about sex criminals. And now that's not about sex crimes or anything too sad like that. It is just a book about people who have sex, commit crimes. It's an adventure! So what makes this book so special, you might be asking? Well, the answer is it's unlike a lot of other books. There's something like an ocean of books out there that all try to handle mature material with varying degrees of success. All over the place, you got characters that are being very sexualized. You have certain books that they're trying to use sex and violence and language all to get some sort of a shock factor. Even the big guys, Marvel and DC, have things like implied sex or characters waking up in bed together. Or Daredevil. Daredevil is fapping all the time. I mean, it's no wonder he went blind. But this book, Sex Criminals, is a prime example of what you can do with an indie book, because it handles all sorts of mature themes, and it gives the reader a sort of meaningful experience. All the while, it's a very funny book. And compared to all the superhero books, which I tend to read a lot of, it's like a breath of fresh air to be able to go over here, and it's totally different and very funny and smart. Despite the fact that the whole story focuses on something like a superpower. So the story of the book, we start off following Suzanne, and she has this special ability. Whenever she has an orgasm, it makes time stop. Everything is standing still while she moves around and can do whatever she wants, consequence free. So it kind of goes back, and we see her learning about sex and her own sexuality and kind of growing up and maturing in multiple ways. Cut to when she's an adult, and this time has had sexual relationships with multiple people, and there's sort of a disconnect because of what happens with her versus normal people. So she meets this guy named John, and they get along well, and so they make a physical they fuck, and when they're done sucking each other's licking each other's butt fucking screwing, at the end of all that they come and time stops, and the both of them are still there. That's when Susie realizes that John does the same thing, and they have that connection. Also, John's dick blows. So on this factor, on the thing they have in common, they connect and they start to develop a relationship. And as that goes along, they get into some serious trouble. You see, Susie works at a library that's about to be shut down because they owe some big bills. But John has a plan. They decide to rob a bank to get the money. And they do so by stopping time. And so they pull up to the bank, they go inside and they're robbing it, and everything's going pretty well until the sex police show up. Who would have thought of such a thing? Just look at these assholes. They are such assholes. And the sex police are led by Keagleface. And I swear, one of these comics says her name, but I don't remember it because everyone calls her Keagleface. So just roll with it. And so they make their narrow escape from the sex police. And then in the time following that, they're in a very stressful situation. Their relationship suffers. They're being followed, watched, stalked even by the sex police. They are dealing with all this. John's dealing with his mental illness and this whole area of the story. But they eventually come to the decision that they're going to fight back and try to deal with the sex police. And they do so by finding other people who can do the same thing as them. And at this point, we're up to 11 issues, and they are gathering together their little rogue squad of So the wild story like this, you gotta have a really talented creative team to be able to pull this off, to make a reader care about all the characters, all the events, to constantly provide laughs. And this book really has got it there. The story is written by Matt Fraction, and he writes all of his characters just like real people, It's easy to become invested in them. They're all relatable, but also flawed. A quick aside, Matt Fraction is married to Kelly Sue DeConnick, who has at this point written 2 wonderful runs of Captain Marvel. And here's a picture of them. Here's a picture of Susie and John. Neat, isn't it? And over on the illustration, you have Chip Zdarsky. He's not only a wonderful artist, but a wonderful artist for this book. It's such a perfect fit. I literally could not imagine any other artist illustrating this book as well as he does. You see, despite this whole book focusing so much on sex, there's no point in time when the art style goes like sleazy, gratuitous cheesecake area. Never happens. It's all just got a realistic feel to it. So it feels like you're reading about normal people doing their normal things. That includes butt stuff. And both of them are key factors to this book's attitude. All of the lines of dialogue and plot points are all very punchy and witty. Meanwhile, the art that Chip's doing here not only lends itself to all the great storytelling going on, he has a hilarious sense of humor. Every single issue, there's panels and panels with just stuff in the background. Things like characters just walking by having a conversation, and in the background there will be like posters for Lord of the Wangs or RoboCop. And the most wonderful part about all this is all of the serious emotional impact and all of the humor never falls flat. Speaking of that signature humor, I'm going to quickly kind of go through some of my favorite comedic moments in the book so far. And I'm going to start here, issue 1. There's a part, actually there are a lot of parts, but there's a part in the first issue where Susie, when she's just learning about sex and her sexuality, all that, when she decides to ask another girl for advice, another girl who doesn't really know any more than Susie does. So there's this page of these ridiculous sex moves that hopefully nobody really does. A little bit later, when the sex police come in, there's this panel where one of the sex police, he slaps John across the face with a big rubbery cock. Which just gives me all the immature giggles, and I can't help that. But finally, my favorite comedic thing in this book is in the back of the book, on the letters page. Every page has weird sex tips, and let me tell you, I don't recommend trying most of these, but it's just about time to pack it in. This whole book, all 11 issues so far, hopefully all the issues in the future, are really unique, first and foremost, in the fact that they take mature content like sexuality and they do it right. They don't just use it for shock, they don't do it distastefully. They use the mature content very responsibly, and they have a lot of laughs out of it, but it's not at the expense of the story, or the characters, or the reader. And so as much as I've shared of the humor, the plot of these books, that just barely scratches the surface. There's so much that I can't show you, or that I just don't want to spoil for you. So if you want to read a story about people trying to connect with each other, and you can enjoy a good, not clean laugh, and you're of an appropriate age for this material, then go out right now, check this book out, and you won't regret it. That's just about it for this week. So now, it's time for the viewer question of the week, which is, if you could put together a creative team to work on a comic book and make it your dream collaboration, who would you want? My answer is, I would want a Spider-Girl book that's written by Kelly Sue DeConnick and drawn by Stjepan Sajic. See, I tried, because I really can't think of any better storyteller or artist. But that's my answer. Leave yours down in the comment section below. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. And come back next time for Comics Tuesday. Next time on Comics Tuesday, we're going to simplify Matt Fraction. Thanks for watching.